While I had plans for today, we are going to skip them due to, unknowns happening. And welcome anyone. If you are new, the 5D Collective, they're all emotionally available, mature people, even if they're not yet. Means they don't whine about doing emotions like the Zen Master. So they do enjoy the prefrontal cortex workout. It's called using the muscle of the heart and not my heart's broken, I want rewards for every time it got broken. Put in that goal that those different types of artists do, the thing of let's get rewarded for how many times we got to become resilient. When you meet people who keep on making it sound like building resiliency has to mean that you went through tragedy, and they make it sound like you have to go through ego death all the time, I just think of spiritual bypassers and also of the not really great mentally, emotionally, physically not mature people. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. When you don't know the flow state, so I do know the flow state. It's called using two sides of the brain, and then also being able to sift through the sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts of my own body. And that's because, again, my prefrontal cortex and maybe my DNA. So Robert Sapolsky, with his book Determined, might give people a good excuse to not do what the little choo-choo train did, like the Zen Master. In the meantime, I'm here for anybody who wants to inspire human potential. You're not going to inspire it by basically continuing to ask for rewards every time your heart got this thing called broken. But I do want to share, I begin life very luckily because I have a whole 3-year-old heart. She's Maria, and it's a differentiated self, and I have a twin. So I did get really, really lucky because there's this thing called learning things. I learned from the evolutionary psychologists and a lot more attachment trauma educators of this thing called the mammalian heritage of ours, and this desire, innate, implicit memory of us needing at least one human to physically live with the animals, because we are animals, but the animal kingdom. So see, my body, when I heard the whole man bear thing, it instinctively said man. That's it, man. I'm a healthy, self-worth woman. Doesn't mean I feel men are safe, but I am actively not using the stupid masculine. Because see, the thing about the mind, it's not the entire mind. It's only the left side when it's not working with the right. So when I meet non-bilaterally integrated brain people, yes, it's time for humanity to know about the trickery of the mind with ego narratives and self, but it's not a true self. It's your paused self. And so when I hear stupidity, now that I know, shame on those who have betrayed what they were supposed to do as messengers of whether it be science or spirituality. Yes, they did not do what I know I'm trying to do right now. They didn't inspire you to understand what you can do with your 2 hands and 2 feet. Oh, and an open heart that doesn't break. There's a lot of different ways that people will talk about heartbreak. Okay, so they instill fear, yes, in the hearts and minds of those who are God's children. How? By using shameful mannerisms due to them being shamed themselves. So when I see trauma on a screen, Waldo, I'm picking them out. When I see trending topics on a screen, Waldo, there you go again. And I think of Schopenhauer's quote, which was, if you want to appeal to a large audience, reach for the masses. Yes, and then I think of my political science bachelor's and my master's in international relations and diplomacy. And I think of a bunch of movies that I watched about the masses. And I think of the kings and queens. And then I continue to think about the 7 to 14 and Michael Stone, his forensic criminologist is what he is, scale. Watch his interview with the Well. And he does a really great job at saying, when people use the word evil, I thought they're using a word from philosophy and religion. Everybody's using it. They really shouldn't. It's the different time. And I'm like, you're right, Michael. Really, seriously. But nobody seems to listen to you. In fact, there are those who say lack of imagination for evil. Anyways, his lovely scale is listened to by those who are smart. And I'm sure if you're still here, you're smart too. By those who are not stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. And they'd rather have an ego narrative, which is a superhero and a supervillain. They're being ruled by their 14-month-old. Evolutionary psychologists helped me understand that one too, which is really funny. So the in and out group, 50,000 plus years it was, something like that. Dr. Daniel Siegel informed me of this. So I have a lot of attachment trauma information, and smart human beings teach me. I don't remember all of it, and I will fuck it up, but I remember the basics. And the gist of it is that 50,000, I think, or million, I don't know, our human history is that they have in and out group. And I'm like, okay, that's only a paused self who's Cusco. If you got Pacha, there's not going to be any kind of bullshit because you got a smart person. It's a bilateral, vertical, overall integrated person who doesn't want a reward because I forgave or because I will do something called being a decent human being, which is helping someone even if they never had my back. Maybe they even pushed me. No, they didn't. Physically, no. Physically, no pushes. So here's the thing. When you're mentally, emotionally, physically mature, means that I have a good gut, which is why for my lovely brain, my mind doesn't trick Maria, nor does any buffoon, because my mother taught me what a buffoon looks like, but she didn't call it a buffoon. She said, okay, so here's what self-respect is, and here's what happens if any person that's bigger than you comes to you and does this. Shame on them. And she pointed to the big grown-ups. It doesn't matter what they're wearing. Doesn't matter who they come with, what money they have, what certificates they have. She didn't say don't listen, don't learn. No, she said if they approach you or something like that, make sure to know they are very rude and you be proper. And if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And then you come to me and don't worry, mom will take care of it. And I'm sure she did, because definitely if any grown-up scared my twin and I, she took care of it. And so this 3-year-old didn't break. And that's also because when God came into town, my mother got to have me have God and Jesus and Holy Spirit. I said, hey, God, so listen, I know that you're equanimous, discerning, and loving, and I love that. So because you have wise, good judgment, and because you also are common-centered, how are you going to handle all the shameful human being grown-ups who actually hurt children, protect them, don't actively bring them places? Oh, and they also hurt grown-ups, men and women, allowing them to hurt each other physically. So what should I do, God? Don't judge human suffering, Maria. Remember, they have free will. Wait, Robert Sapolsky says they don't, though, with his book Determined. It's because their first 3 years of life matter. But then again, people don't believe in neurotheology or neuroscience. Patrick McNamara proves there's no demons possessing anyone, and these same people in cloaks want to keep on talking about Lucifer. They keep wanting to actually not only insult Reiki practitioners, yoga practitioners, meditation practitioners, they keep insulting like pretty much anything that doesn't come with their books. So I wonder... I wonder who. I don't remember that. What's the song called? So, shame on people who don't want to learn. I know that my master's degree helped me to know what research and analysis is, unlike what people think it is. And really, if you don't know that the only reason you would want to prove anything is if you have a qualitative and or quantitative data analysis and you have a hypothesis, so a smart human being, you can keep trying to prove shit. I'm just going to stare at you because you're not actually a panel of experts who's making any kind of interesting discourse. That's the only part of when I would be interested in hearing a proof of anything. Other than that, it's social time. When I go to social media, I didn't really realize people would think that that platform made it so that they're presenting what data? No, you're not presenting. I mean, we're presenting digital, sure. Data still allocated the very same way when I began to go to school it is. So the 5D collective say grounded science and spirituality people. That's why the heaven in the body, yes, the kingdom of God. It's for restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating people. So the 5D collective are bountiful. And I do love them, which is why those best of the best of the best of the best, yes, our best relationships are with emotionally mature, discerning, smart mystics and people. Because otherwise, you're really going to use a lot of time with ignorance. When I think of the bigger picture and the globe, and I do think of the ascension energies and navigating them with Christ consciousness, I do know one thing, that spiritual bypassers continue to annoy the fuck out of me. And that's because they actively don't represent the ancestors that I learned about in catechism, or any of that which I've come to be familiar with on my own as a channeler and downloader, which is also why even though science can explain to us the consciousness, intelligence, they call it a problem because they are sciences, not spiritual, so they don't believe. It's okay though, they don't have to believe. Not all of us are going to believe, have faith, and even those who do believe that they are connected and have faith, which they are because we're all part of spirit, they all serve a purpose. But what I'm saying is the ones who have shame because their sensations, yes, their soul is tainted with their trauma. It's very clear who they are. Again, it's not a question. Between maladaptive patterns of behavior, inner critic, outer critic, drinking, drugging, fucking, and then panting up the energy. Oh, they also get on screen and let us know about what they've done, by the way, and they think that they know what vows, integrity, and commitment are because they're monogamists and because they dress up in fancy suits and they have a bunch of certificates. I love when people think that what you're wearing and how you're speaking and all of that actually makes you into a person that is proper. Yeah. So the people who still buy into that bullshit, they're bountiful. The people who know what equanimity, discernment, and what smart sounds like, those are the people who know, yes, of course, we want to be able to dress for the appropriate occasion, but you getting consistently more and more dressed up by the minute just tells me that you really like fashion. And there's a group for everyone. I'm not in the societal or relationship soul age group. I'm in the enlightenment soul age group. It's fun. I don't know about you, but what I'm trying to get to is just having a lovely conversation about how amazing relationships with smart people are, and how not differentiating are the people who continue to play Cusco. No, they still have a role. Spiritual bypassers, the ones who are cut off from Purusha, pure consciousness, so they're cut off from unconditional love, and Prakriti, pure energy, so they don't go claim their 3-year-old, which means that they stand in their protective zone with a hypervigilance inner child, and therefore that hypervigilant inner child continues to have a brokenness with humanity and faith in humanity. So they like their stories. And the stories in this case would be that ego needs to die, and ego dies when you're spiritually awakening. Also, the other shit they say is that you lose people as you awaken because, teenagers, mean girls, I'm better than them. They continue to talk to you about energy vampires, dark auras, versus, oh, that's not it. You're really insulting your brothers and sisters with trauma, and there's no need because we have plenty of good therapists out there who are letting us all know the good news. The kingdom of God can reside within you if you go and heal it, unless you don't want to, which is why we have the fancy lady and man in suit that I make fun of, because they will tell you how to dismantle the modern day therapy and healing, and how they're trying to imprison you, which makes me laugh in my butthole, because it's actively them wanting to use their sympathetic, which means that their amygdala is what they want to use, which they're already using, which means that their frontal lobes are flopped down, which means that structural dissociation has happened, cognitive dissonance, and this is exactly why, even if they are going to be bigger than me, my ventral vagal energy and tone and all of that, yeah, the minute they stand in front of me, which they won't, because I really don't think that they would have much to do, but I'm going to say, yes, that vase doesn't really look good on them, but the people who follow them, I wonder who, do. Yeah, so I was just trying to share a little bit of food for thought for my lovely community on how smart people are awesome, and how those who are not, well, it's okay. They won't know any better. The nice thing about God is he is benevolent, and because it's not Lucifer that's stored in anybody, but their low self-esteem and direct communication, passive-aggressive manners, and just anything that is between stereotypes, gender, societal, cultural. I mean, really, I didn't think ignorance would continue the way the medieval towns did. But it does. It really does. I can't believe it. I'm lost with words. It might be because I overestimate the capacity for people to use their brain. Do you think that I overestimate the capacity for you to use your brain? I thought that I would be able to challenge ego to get out of its stupidity. But what I have realized is people with fear prefer fear versus getting over it, because as Patrick Tian points out, the cowards don't want to go and heal. And in fact, with Patrick Tian, I'm honored to know the man online, because he tells his community, you don't have to forget what happened to you. Not at all. I can get that, because if I learned that I was taught that I needed to be ashamed of myself, here, defective, and then that I did business with my 0-8-year-old that then grew up, that basically did a bunch of shit that wasn't meant to be my journey, and then I got to wait because I wasn't able by the time I'm an adolescent to get help. But by the time I'm a young 20-year-old, thank goodness, finally, that moment you're an adult and you get to leave, like Patrick Tan points out, and then you finally realize, wow, that was really shitty. I really had a fucking shitty ass upbringing, and I became somebody that I never would have became ever. I would be pretty pissed too. Yeah, so when people who want to talk to me about God don't talk well and good about neuroscience, neurotheology, therapy, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, and Reiki and anything, I know who they are. And the fact is that even though they've made the in and out group, the little words they use, yeah, keep using words. At the end of the day, what I know is the 14-month-old rules them. Doesn't really matter because they're not going to be here, that's for sure, at IHP. They're also going to continue using their sympathetic, which is distress, which really doesn't mean anything that is a good news, because, well, inflammation and a lot more happens when you don't heal that which is pent up inside of you, and knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want this, doo-doo-doo-doo, twice on the so really, no, spirit, soul, God, you call it what you want, because really it'll knock more than 3 times. And as always, ascension energies, we talked about navigating them with Christ consciousness. I've consistently expanded to more and more and more and more and more and more love, because that's the one thing that you can do in ventral energy, which is why people say, you want me to have one emotion. No, actually, it's your mammalian heritage. Let me go back to the beginning, because I forgot to mention, because I have a twin in the fetus, I have never been alone one day of my life. So I have a superpower. It's called that I already have someone who will love me forever and ever. Even if I'm a cockroach, my mother loves me. And even if my mother didn't love me, my body still remembers not ever being alone once. And I'm sure I did that on purpose, because, pre-birth, pre-spirit, whatever, organizing and deciding, I know I set myself up to successfully do everything. When I look to the past, at a certain point, I'm like, wow, I left myself gifts. Wow, this is amazing. Now that I've had a bunch of other puzzle pieces, I'm like, I still don't know all of it. I think it's going to be fun as I get to continue to notice, what did I leave myself behind? How many flowers? I'm not joking with y'all. And the people who are not smiling, I have consistently tried as a kid growing up, and as a teenager, and as a young adult, and believe me, I try. Oh, have I tried? Have I tried? Wait, there's a song coming through. Which one which one was it? It's some other cartoon that I was watching, probably Disney. But yes, it's on the tip of my head and on the tongue, but I can't get it. So anyways, if I get it, I'll let you all know. But the point is that I don't have a lonely button. I'm not joking. That's why determined Robert Sapolsky is important. But so is healing your trauma seriously, which people don't take seriously. And spirit, soul, God knocking at your door, what I found and continue to find mind-boggling, again, the only explanation is the pause self. So people who have had any kind of rupture from their higher self, like Richard Schwartz will talk to you about, because that's the only explanation, since teenagers did dumb shit, and I chose not to hang out with the dumb ones, because I'm like, I got places to be, things to do, I want to help people. Hey, teenage boyfriend, we became friends, he was it, good, keep moving forward, my friends, good. The cowards they were, no different than the cowards that I still see today, because any coward isn't really a coward. It's like my facade from they don't know how to do emotions or thoughts. They don't know how to do their body, because they don't know how to do ventral energy, and they don't want to. They think that it's one emotion versus actually trying to learn something from someone who wants to help people. But they call it boring and too serious. So, I mean, again, letting people do whatever they want. I can't force you to open your heart, to get out of hypervigilance, to become your own inner child adult. I can't force you to do mindfulness practices with your ventral vagal state. No, I can't. That Zen master does great laundry. So you can't force people to choose love. They will consistently like the control of the stupid left mode, because they don't really notice, oh look, I have emotions that are uncomfortable. Maybe I might want to try mastering that. Versus saying the modern day therapists are trying to keep us in prison. And it's dangerous to have no emotions. You're an idiot. You can't physically have no emotions if you had learned the difference between emotions and feelings, energy and motion. Oh, I'm sorry. She doesn't believe in the neurosciences or the neurobiologist or any of the mental health professionals. Apparently she liked being Jack and the Beanstalk. Have anyone watched My Cousin Vinny? This is a really great movie. So at a certain point, he finally figures out how to voir dire, or whatever the word is. And he is figuring it out with the dude who tells him that it takes more. He cooked grits. And so he says, I was cooking my grits and I turned around, and then I turned around and I saw he saw the people who are being charged for a crime they didn't commit. And my cousin Vinny, because when he tried grits, him and his girlfriend didn't like grits because they saw this shit, and they're from Manhattan or New York, and like, what is this? And so they begin asking a bunch of questions because they don't know what it is. Instead of just saying, no, thank you, we don't want it. They ask so many questions that then he finds out that it takes about 15 minutes for grits to be cooked. And it's almost like telling an Italian, you're going to cook pasta, and you don't put a timer. So basically, I got it, meaning I understand why my cousin Vinny, when he's voir diring or whatever. He's like, okay, so what? It took you 1 minute to cook grits? Were those instant grits? And here's where honor and here's where ego comes in. Even for me, in a time when I cook bad, I'm an American Italian, but still, my heritage. I'm already a bad cook. So I already can look down with shame because my ancestors they know I'm not great, but I try. But my point is I wouldn't cook instant pasta. One time I did. It's because I didn't know. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so dishonored right now. I will pay penance, I promise. I'll do something fabulous at one point. At least I make good coffee. Sometimes. I try. It depends who tastes it. Okay, so long story short, as I tease a bunch of different things for no reason except for giving you all laughs, he turns to this guy and says, so it's instant grits? And he's like, no respected southerner will use instant grits. That's ego right there. That's a rigid personality. How dare you change it up? Versus, I mean, really, if you have a good sense of humor and you don't make it into a big deal, but if you make it into feud, then we got an issue going on. And there are people who do that still. So how beautifully you can relate to someone simply depends on your willingness, flexibility, and joyfulness. Thank you, Sadhguru. Yes, so you're only flexible if you have a functional inner child adult in front of you, because that's when you're going to have a person who knows how to do. The less rigid your personality, the more powerful your presence, because you're using a bilaterally, vertically overall integrated brain and you own the sense of self, and therefore your 14-month-old don't rule you. No, you rule you. It's meaning this, your higher self. So when I meet those who are pause selves, time is not money. Time is life. I don't waste my time, which is why I don't waste my breath, which is why as a teenager, I was pretty straightforward and a shooter. I still am. The difference is I grew up. So I actually learned about attachment trauma, got a lot more soft, if you will, but also a lot more aware of how to handle the 0-8-year-olds. As for those who are, shame on them, the people who are grown, yeah, they started to become just people a long time ago, because my mother taught me well how to notice those who are human beings who don't have leadership. No, they just stand on a podium. That's all they do. And they have a reason for being there. It's called the adaptive child part, is a child's version of what a grown-up looks like, but it's a child's version of, I don't want to become like my mommy, daddy, or whatever happened to me. So it's a pent-up, spiteful teenager with a 3-year-old who has shame, blame, fault, revenge, and this little vindictive tooth of basically not doing what is called love, but instead being spiteful about it, and that's because there is no love. There is rigidity, and I will shame you, and blah, blah, and I will treat you the way I was treated. So it's really an equation that's quite straightforward for me. Again, smarts means stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. It's the only people who are going to continue expanding and have been expanding in the first place. We're the ones who are grounded in reality. We have an easy way to do life. Our ventral energy is all over the place, which is why people that are not in the ventral energy will not want to be around us. We also know that nobody represents a threat, because God is more intelligent and always wins. So is intelligence, so is Akash, so is everything. So really, there's no reason to have a question about who is going to do what. But we can thank our 4D and 3D collective for the entertainment. Because see, if we all were enlightened and enlightening and expanding with equanimity, so calm and centered and discerning, so we knew good wisdom, all of us with good judgment, what would the world look like? Where would the rainbow of colors be? I should thank all of the fearful ones for what they do for us, don't you think? I think we can thank them. And in the meantime, we can enjoy entertainment due to the fact that they are going to be entertaining themselves with us. We can entertain ourselves with them. And at the end of the day, what is also beautiful about being able to be an empowered feminine with my own empowered masculine, and to grow intimate and passionate relationships and expand each other with empowered masculines, by the way, and or feminines, and just people, again, the best relationships. It's the ones who know about the trickery of the mind and the ego narratives and self, but they don't use trickery. So they're not ignorant. They're not stupid. They actively are, again, emotionally mature, discerning, smart, and so they don't fall for bullshit. They also don't do Cusco a little, back and forth, which is a waste of time. And the 14-month-old and the mammalian heritage and all the things I mentioned, again, there's every person has a 1-year-old, a 3 to 7-year-old. The freeze of all ages, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, your child parts. I don't rule with them. No, I, Maria, rule me. I'm the master of herself, her, and I don't do. There's an illusion of the self, an illusion of free will. I do understand the concepts. Yes, I do. They explained it to me. Difference is when you have a higher self and you are a channeler and a downloader and you are an independent self-agent, and that's autonomously. So I self-regulate in the absence of any thumbs up of anyone. Because see, thing is, my mother, she allowed me to be all the angriness I could be. And as I got older, I started to work with my tone. And you see me, yeah, I'm doing this. You can all ask my mother how many different types of debates we've had, because once I got to 18, I said, hey, I started to finally speak up because I was finally an adult. And my mom, one day, she's like, what happened to you? It's like, I'm an adult now. You told me I didn't have an opinion, all of you grown-ups, until I was an adult. Now I'm an adult. You still don't have an opinion because you don't have experience. What? That doesn't, no. So when you're a self-agent your entire life and you just understand all perspectives, anima mundi. So yes, I can always understand a lot of different corners and they all sound plausible. Where's my other quote? Grounded in reality. This is what it is. Also, I do love information. So when somebody's giving me bullshit, I actually know it's bullshit, but I'm still curious because that's my 3-year-old. She also has a twin, so I know how to share the floor. And I've always had a good time because I know how to repair ruptures. And my twin disowned me, so I have the experience of being disowned and of thinking my thoughts and feelings were true. Emotions, I'm disowned, I'm alone. I can still remember this explicit memory. I'm 8 years old. She thinks we're broken. I said, no, Tina, we're not broken. I just am telling the story, please. She's very sensitive. I tell her I love her. She loves me, and we're in good company. And we still have the same dynamic we had when we were kids, which is lovely. Last time we had our little thing, I said, look, let's just do this privately so that nobody has to be within our energetic sphere, because that's how much your 3-year-old stays with you. So with all that being said, I definitely know that she loves me and I love her, and we are and I love singing every now and then. If your beliefs are falsifiable or not falsifiable, if there's no scenario that could convince you that your most cherished opinions are in error, then that's proof that you didn't get them by being in contact with reality. That's Sam Harris. So when I meet people who don't know how to do this, they don't know that anything that comes out of their fucking mouth can be falsifiable, and they get, oh, I'm already like out of the room, because as a teenager I'm like, you got ego. No, you don't. Yes, you do. I got ego too. We all have ego, but why are you making a big deal about the ego? I don't understand. So your ego don't die. No. Your beliefs don't die. You don't die. I mean, really, you do die eventually, but what I'm saying is your personality patterns, yes, and temperament, your attachment category don't fucking die. And this is the most amazing. So when you are emotionally, mentally, and physically a master of yourself, that's why my discerning people, come on over and let's have fun. I know we're gonna have a good time. I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh and love and live and learn and expand and not cast stones. And I am creating episodes so that you can get to know me, getting to know all about me, and also because we're just chit-chatting here. Again, when the paid subscription-based model tiers will be out, you're going to get some stuff on YouTube. Otherwise, you can go and subscribe to Spotify, or you can go and subscribe to Fanbase for paid subscription-based model content. But other than that, IHP has always been, let me help you to be yourself with the inner growth mindset. You're not going to be me. I'm just sharing with you who I am. That way you can know, hey, oh, there was a song that was going to come. Which one was it? Hey, mambo, mambo Italiano. Hey, mambo. And remember, I might die. Yes, I don't know when. It's going to be unfortunate. I don't want that day to come. But it is going to at some point or another. And when I am... when I'm down and troubled and you need someone to... Yeah, sure. Okay, these songs make me think of how many people are liars. Because that's what teenagers were. Those songs from teenagers. And so when you do meet those who are not liars, it's because they're their higher self. They take emotional, mental, and physical responsibility. And so they bring to you their best feet forward, both of them. They also know that science and spirituality come together. They don't believe the people in cloaks, because the people in cloaks are mean, because they emotionally, mentally, and physically hurt each other. And this is not a joke, because if they didn't, then they would allow themselves to stop doing the shame, the blame, the fault, the revenge. They'd stop using Lucifer. They'd stop using stories. They'd stop making people scared to be themselves, and they'd stop enticing individuals to get and beat each other up, or basically yoga, demons come out of you, or Reiki masters, you're all evil. They'd stop doing that. Like, they'd stop spreading rumors about topics that don't need them to be doing what they're doing. I remember I saw a panel of people who were talking about when they reclassified, what was it? Something about, they have their own classification of ghost events, and I laughed with them. At the same time, I'm like, okay, you really don't need to be making fun of the fact that they still are doing this. Oh, but I do laugh with them because I'm like, if you were an actual leader, you'd be able to use two sides of the brain and figure out what to do like a successful business owner would, so that your entire organization would be able to sustain itself. Anybody remember Blockbuster? I think they decided not to invest in digital, and whew, there you go. Oof, there it is. So when I think of a smart anything, I think you're gonna want to win, meaning to stay alive. Staying alive, not die like a dinosaur. And we do know the dinosaurs, why they went extinct, but in this case, it's not an actual dinosaur. There's no reason for any of things to go extinct per se. However, we will have a digital representation of those groups of people, now that I think about it. We're going to all be preserved in time through the sphere of digital. I'm on a roll today. I have a bunch of different jokes. I hope you had a good time. And again, please do know it is with the loving heart that I say to you all, those who are expanding each other share love and kindness and firm kindness and discernment, and they do have healthy boundaries. It's not me shaming you. It won't be a tone that says, you're a fucking piece of shit. No, not at all, because that would make me an insecure bastard asshole who's doing to you what was done to me, by the way, because that's exactly what trauma is, FYI. Any person with those manners, I will still remember how my mother taught me. Those are bad manners, and you come to me, but you do not do what they've done to you. Also, my body is 4'9", and it knows automatically, run the fuck away, because they're going to pummel you to death. But the point of bad manners, the only ones who are okay with being yelled at in the face and to actually think that it makes you into anything, yeah, sure, bring it on. You keep bringing it to a 3-year-old who says, no. That's called good boy, good girl, did you do a great job for mommy and dad? That's how it feels inside here when I hear anybody saying, that's great, it's good. Then I think of my college years, people going to get into sororities and fraternities and telling me about their stories. I remember one of my close friends, a long time ago close friend, as they're telling me that they decided to go because they wanted to belong. And then they went ahead and told me what happened and went down. And I said, so you let yourself be shamed and this is fine. You find this fun. I guess, that's interesting. No, it's not. No, DUMB. Whenever anyone wants to bring to me something like that, that's what I think. I think how I thought teenagers were dumb on purpose. No, I thought we were all dumb because we are ignorant little kids who didn't know shit. And then as I grew up, I noticed that some people stayed ignorant little kids who didn't know shit. And now I'm grown up and I'm still seeing them, and I still can't believe that they believe in stereotypes, and that a lady goes on screen and does this, women, gather. And no matter how many times my friends tell me it's about trends, I'm like, this is impossible. No, I don't believe it. And if it is, this is bullshit. Somebody needs to call it out because there's no way in fucking hell that they're doing something just for the trends because people are watching it. And in the meantime, while I might be entertaining, I'm not doing what is completely something I saw teenagers actually, and then young grown-ups do. So she says, remember, if he fucks you, don't think it. And I don't know what the fuck she's going to say. And she does this. Don't think it. I know you are. Wedding bells. And I'm like, no, your flower's broken. You're a whore. You're junk. You're going to get thrown out. Now everybody in town's going to know you're easy. Don't you know how it works? That's how it works. And the men apparently can fuck whoever they want. And they're still good to be married to. Oh, the song that was coming, by the way, the other day. He's a tramp. No. That one is a cute song, even though when I stopped to think about it, I'm like, but wait a minute, is it? I'm like, well, yeah, it is actually. For Lady and the Tramp, for who he is at the end, because he becomes with her, right? They have a family and he's not a tramp, but at the same time, I need to look at the song. But my point is, when people get all picky with words, how dare you? How dare you what? So when you're empowered, you use words very funnily. Yeah, when you are a person who cares about society and you don't realize that society is actually twofold. If you have people of integrity, great. If you have people who pretend to have integrity, who gives a shit? Because their ignorance and their low self-esteem is seeping through every one of their pores because of the way that they will talk about shit, like this woman with the whole wedding bells. I'm just thinking of all the women who laughed with her. And then I thought of all the women that I knew that wanted that and thought that that would happen. And then I think of studies that I learned about, which is that both men and women, when they go out on blind dates and fuck each other, are hoping and thinking unconsciously it's going to be the one. And I'm like, wow, you're actually planning on finding the one like that? Like, that sounds quite dangerous. What if you get the serial killer? Does anybody not contemplate how this shit goes down? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you wonder. And then I remember about the smart human beings and mystics. And I'm like, we're all thinking the same things. And that's why we're going to entertain ourselves for sure. And in the meantime, personal development, self-help, spiritual growth. When you're expanding, what is fun as the ascension energies come about for the 5D collective is that you pick up the clues and the cues. So as I conclude, I'll do a little bit of serious shares, but that is where you're not actually picking up the pieces of a life that is now unraveling to such the extent that you find yourself on the floor. And this is where every person that has not chosen to do life with their whole self finds themselves sooner or later being knocked 3 times on the ceiling, if you want, being brought forth the opportunity to become that which they were meant to become. And it isn't something that makes me laugh or smile. No. I understand love, I understand fear, humanly speaking. You choose to be yourself. Awesome. You learn how to do bilateral vertical overall integration in your own timing. This is a very straightforward equation. You don't. You follow fancy men and women's suits, stereotypes, ignorance, and scary people who are not really scary. I mean, we have laws, we go vote. Luckily, it's a different time. It's the year 2025, and no matter how many different ignorant people I see online, I still know I'm grounded in political science and my lovely international relations and diplomacy degree. You don't get rid of the system. So sorry. Yeah, it's made by the people for the people. So yeah, there's a divide. That's pretty clear. The divide doesn't destroy it. It just reformulates it. And in fact, we're already at a new sweet spot, which is why this is one of the biggest moments of the time, but it's just not this huge split. That's going to be, oh my God. The 4D always makes, and so does any adaptive child part, because they live in their visceral, so they don't actually have an integrated brain. So because they don't live aliveness, but they live pseudo-aliveness, which means they're only using the masculine, which is stupid alone, but they also live in their sympathetic, which means they're tired out, but it also means that they're super sensitive to everything that happens around them, and their frontal lobes are flopped down, and they're using their amygdala, and then they're using their pause distorted self with all the inner critic stories that they've made up in their head since the age of 2. And a lot more of shit, their dark sides and neuroplasticity. I mean, really, the man, when he got on screen and said some shit, I was like, oh my God, that was heartbreaking. I was like, your feminine figure. I'm happy I'm not near you as a woman. Oh, thank goodness. And I did have a man friend of mine that I said, look, the only reason I'm calling you back is because I owe you money, and I made a bet and I'm a person of my word. However, you seemed pretty dangerous to me as a woman, and I will let you know this, like physically dangerous, to the point that I wasn't about to call you, but I owe you money, so I thought I would. And that's because he's a friend. Luckily, he was in a better mood. Luckily, he has turned around, and I'm happy about that. But at the time, it was not very, very interesting, and it was very scary, and it's very sad to see that these groups actually still exist, that they come together in forums, and that they actually support each other to talk in a way that is physically violent, and they use biblical textbooks in an effort to continue to bring forth stories that have nothing to do with God, Holy Spirit, or Jesus, and yet they want to say to others that they know what integrity is. Let me think again. So I know exactly what integrity is, and any stupid human being, man or woman, or they be, who is in any way, shape, or form supportive of physical violence towards each other doesn't understand that society is not made by people fighting each other like that, and that the system is supposed to be able to be smarter than, so that they can make it work out. Obviously, when that doesn't happen, I don't think we're there though, even though it might seem like we are. I'm pretty sure we're not. At the same time, again, please remember journalism got fucked up because they decided that what bleeds leads, and that's why they joined the teenage bandwagon. No, I don't believe in conspiracies. I just believe that people in the 3D frequency and in that visceral, they just got hooked on a feeling. Not that anybody's in love with anybody. No, they got hooked on feelings that are based in low frequency, and that's still to this day the same lady with her little protective mode who says that the modern day therapist wants to imprison you doesn't know that she's in that, which is distress, which is modulated. And I think it was Janina Fisher, or was it Ruth or Beth Lanius or Ruth Lanius? So someone today told me it was around the 80s and the 90s that they began to understand our nervous system. So it's only been a short time. I need to remember why we are where we are today. And it is thanks to scientists. I'm not one of them. I'm a pseudoscience. But I do humanities and social science. And I bring it all in. And then I bring spiritual and spirituality. And again, the human elements. So that we can look at human evolution and consciousness. And you be yourself. I'm being myself. And using chit-chat time and whatever else we want to do. So that we can continue having a good time. The best relationships. Yes, they're with emotionally mature and mentally mature, discerning, smart mystics and people. Because, again, I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh and love and learn and expand and not cast stones. And so we have fun with words, and we have fun looking into it as well. And things transform in time, and so I believe I can fly. No, I believe in a dream. I believe that we are at our next best sweet spot, and it's going to be enjoyable to see as the sciences and spirituality and more come together of the 5D collective. The 4D and 3D stay divisive, so they create their little groups like the flat earthers and like those other people who don't bring their children to get healed and more. And so as they divide themselves into little groups that are more comfortable because they have control, they get to decide the lists, make sure those 10 items are always there rigidly. Otherwise, you broke the rules. They don't do the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's only guidelines. So when you meet adaptive child part people who are trending topics and they want to belong, like those the idiots who told me about fraternity and sororities, or anybody else who's allowing themselves to think that it means to be all sure you are, do or doomsdayer, hostile, ghost, and there's the people pleaser, oh wow, and there's another one that bites the dust. Are we good? So I know there are people who actually talk about these traits in a way of trying to allow themselves to welcome to good. You have a starting point of where to move out of. I'm just saying, if you know that your well-being is when you are in your ventral energy, why wouldn't you move towards it? Why would you stay emotionally, mentally, and physically lazy? This is the part of why I irritate people with my ventral energy. I'm not kidding. As a teenager, why are you not going to do it? I'm a grown-up. I'm saying the same thing. And I'm not trying to irritate anyone. But my thought is this. If a person says, you know what? It's because I like my modulated embodiment, Maria. I understood everything you said. I'm still good with my sympathetic. I got it. I take it. I'm going to be like, thank you. I shake your hand. I'm welcoming you. I'm all in, because I can do stupid things too. I smoked cigarettes. I still smoke cigars. I drink wine. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but I'll have the decency and capacity to intellectually allow myself to be honest and say, yes, I'm stupid, because the reality is if I want to conduct a life that is completely going to bring me to live the longest ever, then I would be doing certain things. Not as extreme as this guy that I'm seeing what he's doing to try and live forever, but I'm saying there is a way to be moderate and to have a good time in the absence of smoking cigars, in the absence of drinking wine, but I'm still doing it, which is where Neil deGrasse, I love how he points out there's a lot of things we do that don't support our living the most healthiest of lifestyles, and this is what's your sweet spot? Okay, so nobody is going to be seeking, if you're smart, perfection out of anything, but being able to be discerning and smart is this: stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable, smart, my acronym, and discerning, wise, judgment, and good way of thinking. You know what's healthy and what's not, but also conscious awareness, self-awareness. Also maturity means I take responsibility for who I am and what actions I take and with all of me. not just some of me. So if you say you're a dumbass, I will say, yes, I can be a dumbass. You say you're a pseudo, yes, again, you call me a whore, no, but hey, whatever. I mean, the fact is, you idiot, no, not really, but maybe. There's a level of self-empowerment that comes with equanimity and discernment. That is true love. That is a person who knows who they are. That's called self-acceptance. That's a person who has an inner child. That's an adult. That's a mentally, emotionally, physically healthy, mature, smart person. They will not be pulled their wool over the eyes in any way, shape, or form with anyone who wants to tell them that they know vows and integrity and what true spirituality is when they're being divisive and yelling and whatever else they're doing. Same thing goes with science. Flat earthers, I mean, okay, whatever. Others using AI to disprove reality, fine, keep going. I mean, those extreme groups, they're buffoons. Those of us are like, wow. I mean, do you really want to go to that extent? So again, buffoons in what way? Not important. I'm actually sharing chit chat. In fact, I think I'll call it the late IHP Show because I haven't had the honor to do one lately, and that's how it's gonna roll. So thank you for stopping by. It's been a pleasure, and in the meantime, welcome aboard 5D Collective. I knew I would figure a bunch of things out, and now that I have, it's gonna continue being fun. Yes. So have a good day. Like, share, and subscribe. It'll help the channel grow, and we'll see you again soon.